Hi, and welcome to my second ever audio commentary. My name is Spaceman Spiff, and I have just recently purchased a new microphone, so the audio quality should be significantly better this time around. I introduced myself a little in the previous audio. I play on Azeroth. I play a lot of out of the box strategies. I like to have some fun, and I just wanted to get involved in the community. So if you want to hear a little more about me, then check out the previous one. If not, let's just dive into this. So, as you can see, I'm against an undead, which means a number of different things, and I'm going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and my playstyle. I think I am very strong when it comes to map awareness and game sense and decision making and the strong basic fundamentals of the game. I think I'm very strong at resource management, and I'm good at recognizing when I have an advantage and when I have a disadvantage. On the other side of that stuff, though, I'm very weak mechanically. I think my macro suffers sometimes. My micro is definitely not up to par with a lot of players out there. So this has led to me playing a lot of strategies that are outside the norm, because I think the strategies that are at the highest level, like the go-to strategies, are up there because they are also very micro intensive, and the best players in the world who are able to make use of those units as strongly as possible, they're able to do good things with that. When I have Grunt, Raider, Spirit Walker, and I'm against Druid of the Talon, I'm going to get run over because I'm not fast enough to ensnare the right units and focus fire the right units and micro my heroes and make sure my shockwave goes off appropriately and avoid that mana burn. It's really tough. I'm not good at that. But if I can catch people off guard and get them playing a game they're not used to, where both of us are kind of in over our heads, I think it's a lot of fun. I think I do very well there. And that's the kind of game I always play, and that's the kind of game I'm going to showcase here today. So, I was against Undead, and we're against Undead again. And I've drawn Undead. So we're in a mirror match. A mirror match, Undead, means two things typically, right? You can see a lot of Lich Ghoul plays where you see the Lich push in, try and cause some economic damage, things like that. I'm not particularly afraid of that on this map, though, because number one, I played random, so he didn't know I was Undead, so going Lich first is dicey, even if you scout quickly. The second issue is it's a very long map, right? Despite there only being 2 spawn points, to walk from here all the way up, and around and up, by the time he gets to my base, even if I'm only building ghouls from 1 crypt, I'll probably have gained 2, maybe even 3 ghouls in the time it took him to get there. And that gives me the defender's advantage on top of my spirit towers, on top of my main if it's upgraded, right? So I'm not too worried about that. What I'm more concerned about, or what I'm expecting to see, is Death Knight Fiends. You notice I don't even scout because I'm so confident that I'm going to be against Death Knight Fiends, which is definitely a mistake. But again, this is not a top tier commentary, so take it with a grain of salt. So I'm expecting Death Knight and Fiends. How do I want to react to that? I decided I was going to go Dreadlord, so I went to basic Fiend build. Crypt, Graveyard, Zig, Altar, Dreadlord, which is definitely out of the ordinary, probably not what most people do. I'm just going to pause quickly. But I like it for a couple of reasons. I like it because if they scout me, up until the time that my Dreadlord comes out, everyone thinks it's Fiends. They might think I've got a couple extra ghouls, but it looks like Fiends, so it throws off people's scouting. The second reason I like it is it allows you to do some interesting things. So you can see this game, I've chosen to get Unholy Armor. And now, come Nightfall, when I'm going to be creeping my first camp, I'm going to have an armor upgrade on my ghouls, and I'm going to be able to creep pretty much, or most orange camps, I think, because of sleep as well. So I come out at the same time as the opposing Death Knight and Fiends, because I did the same build. So we're more or less at the same time as each other crossing these camps, right? Where am I? I'm a little bit behind because I'm a little bit slower at the game, but that's just user error. That's nothing to do with the actual build order. And I'm able to creep something more difficult than him. So we're going to see it. I could go and creep the gold mine more efficiently than he could. I could go and creep the item camp more efficiently than he could. Or I could try and do something else. And here you can see I thought about going for this, but changed my mind because I want to try and do something tier 2 or tier 3. So I decided I wanted to tech pretty hard, and you'll see, yep, I've started my tech already. and I don't want him to see it. I don't want him to see my timing. I don't want him to see what my base looks like. I want to take the fight to him and keep him on the defensive. As soon as he's able to get in and harass my acolytes or slow down my wood income during my tech, I'm in a lot of trouble, especially having gone Dreadlord. The number one most effective way to keeping someone out of your base, take the fight to their base. Force their hand, right? So that was my thought. As I ran south, though, I decided to quickly check this and try and grab the sentry here. This sentry is absolutely game-changing, especially if you can get the one on the opponent's side of the map. It just, it gives you vision. It provides you control over that item shop. You even feel bad going to an item shop later in the game knowing someone can see you. It just gives away so much information. So by grabbing this, I was able to secure that ward for later in the game. And then you'll notice I run away immediately. I run away as soon as I get that ward. I don't care about the experience. I wasn't creeping that for the experience or the items or the tome. I was creeping that because I wanted to get that vision and then get back to attack his base. So you can see I microed back my 1 weak ghoul. So I'm going at his base with 4 ghouls and a Dreadlord. There is not a lot of damage that can be done with 4 ghouls and a Dreadlord in an imposing Undead's base. But there is information to be gained, right? And I want to talk about a couple things right here. So I'm coming down and I see 3 fiends and an acolyte. That is a lot of information, right? So I immediately sleep the fiend and I'm going to go for a surround. But what does this acolyte mean? This acolyte means he's trying to expand. And if he's trying to expand, that means a number of different things. First, I'll just say I'm terrible at the game. Didn't notice my Dreadlord being harassed. Took a ton of damage and then ended up teleporting out. That's typically a massive loss, right? That's a massive loss. I have no efficient way of healing my hero at 34 health. I've spent 350 gold on a teleport. I did manage to kill a Crypt Fiend, so I nullified some of that gold loss. But the big thing is I saw he was going to expand. And him expanding means a couple things, right? It means he's going to be spending a lot of resources on that expansion. It means he's not going to be able to harass me because his gold and wood is going to the gold mine, into ziggurats, into spirit towers, into 4 more acolytes. It means he probably can't tech as hard as I can unless he's building a necropolis because he's going to need to find time to build 5 more acolytes. So there are so many different ways you can react at this point. You can react, I'm sorry you saw that ghoul die. That's embarrassing, but I'm not going to redo this. I should have just moved the screen. Damn. But there are a couple of ways to react. I can pressure him, try and creepjack him on his expo, try and deal some damage, try and hold him back. But a Death Knight and Fiends are really strong there, especially at this stage in the game when I have a couple ghouls. I could go with as many as 10 ghouls, but that's going to cripple my wood income, that's going to hurt my tech, and I'm still not likely to deal all that much damage. Instead, I decided to play it slow, because he's going to be investing gold in all of this. He's going to be investing wood, and that means he's going to have a weak point at tier 2. He's got to stay at tier 2 longer to build his acolytes. He's got to build slaughterhouses. He's got to build temples of the damned. He's got to build a second hero. He probably wants to upgrade his spirit towers. I don't know if I said that yet. All of these things cost a lot of money, so he's going to be weak in there. He's going to be exploitable. So how am I going to exploit that, right? How am I going to find that chink in his armor? So you can see I've hit tier 2. I threw down a Temple of the Damned because I've decided I'm going necromancers this game. And I'm getting a Death Knight. So a Death Knight normally is a very obvious pick, I feel, for Unholy Aura. If you're going ghouls, if you're going... I'll make a point of that after. So I saw him go there and looked like he was going north to my item camp. So I thought, pull down my ghouls, I'm going to try and creepjack him at my item camp. And you can see that's what's happening now. But I picked the Death Knight because Unholy Aura is just so critical for ghouls and skeletons from the necromancers. So he's coming out. I've started teching to tier 3 by this point. My Temple of the Damned is almost out. Notice, though, I still don't have a slaughterhouse. I'm just going ghouls and necromancers. Nothing else, nothing fancy. I have 2 upgrades now, 1 armor, 1 attack. And I came up here. He wasn't creeping it, which was nice for me because it allowed for me to creep it. Notice this time I'm not in as big a rush. I'm not trying to take the fight to his base right away, so I'm taking the time to actually creep the full camp. and pick up the items, grab the experience. Again, this is all about the sentry ward, though. These are such high priority targets because of the sentry ward. I can't emphasize that enough. That should be your number one creep spot on this map every time. Okay, so now the point has come where I know his expansion is probably just about getting up. It's probably finishing, and now is the point where I need to start pushing or causing some damage, or else he's going to start pulling away. There are a couple ways to do this, right? I could pressure him at his expansion. It's probably not that well defended yet. He's going to be ready for it, though. That's what he's expecting. There we go. So I saw 2 spirit towers. Third one's on the way. He has not paid for it yet, right? That's 150 times 3 plus 145 times 3. That's almost 600 gold, plus the gold mine, plus the acolytes. He's got to harvest quite a bit of gold from there in order to pay off his investments. So I'm still doing all right. And you'll notice that I'm going to try and do some Zeppelin play. I just so you know, I went in, I slept the Warlord, picked him up really easily, the Zeppelin up really easily, and then ran away. But here's my army. I did not realize I dropped my Death Knight, so he was left out. He did not join the fight, and that's a major mistake on my part, and we're going to see what happens because of it. Again, I'm not a professional player. You're going to see lots of that from me. Anyway, though, so you can see I saw he was creeping this. Because I took the time earlier in the game to creep this and grab that, I saw he was here. I knew he was here, which meant I was safe to fly directly south. I didn't have to try anything sneaky because his army was here. Any Crypt Fiends or any units that are rallied are going to take this path. No one's going this way. So this is going to be uncontested. The only way it gets scouted is if he's made a mistake or he's running a ghoul out to do some weird scouting or something. Either way, that time I spent to get this was so important in my Zeppelin getting to his base efficiently. Furthermore, actually, I should point out, by not finishing those 4 trolls earlier and leaving immediately, that allowed me to come and intercept his move to the expansion and let me see that his acolyte was going to expand. Had I stayed to finish those trolls, that probably would have taken me another 30 seconds. I would have come here, completely missed his army, gone into harass, and not had any idea that he was trying to expand, and would have drastically changed the course of this game, right? Anyway, moving on. Here we go. I'm moving my Zeppelin in. At this point, I think I've just hit tier 3. I'm getting another couple of necromancers. I finally got a slaughterhouse up, and I'm researching Ghoul Frenzy. And the play here, I see he's not tier 3 yet. He's still building his 2 slaughterhouses, which is great. No statues yet. And notice I make a point of dropping my necromancers right beside the graveyard. This is so important. Those bodies allow me to cause such chaos in the back of his base where he's not expecting the fight. So I'm going to pause it again quickly. Let's look. He's up here running down. So had I chosen to fight this, he would have had 3 fiends and 2 heroes, level 3 and 1, against my level 3 and 1, 4 ghouls, 2 heroes, 2 necromancers, right? This would have been a really difficult fight. I would have lost. Also, he's in position, so he was ready for it. He would have been on me immediately. But by sneaking around like that, now I'm in the back of his base. I'm getting ghoul kills. And something I want to point out here is I'm not doing any offensive micro. I'm letting my ghouls and skeletons just kind of roam and do their thing and attack what's out there. And I'm trying to do some defensive. So I'll pull some units away. You'll notice I do some Zeppelin micro with my necromancers just to keep them by the graveyard and alive, away from the lich. And everything else is just kind of dishing out damage. Undead bases are tricky. They're wide open. They have healing. They have multiple ways of slowing you with Nerubians and the tower, in the main and Frost Nova. But if you just let your things do it whatever they want, right? Like attack that meat wagon. I've sent a couple now to attack it. Attack that Crypt Fiend. Look at the damage I'm causing. Look at the chaos that has ensued. I still have 1 necromancer alive who should get away, but no, I let him die. So now at this point, what's he lost? He came in with 3 fiends and they're gone, and 2 heroes. So he lost his 3 fiends, he's got 2 heroes. I came in with 2 necromancers, 4 ghouls, and 1 hero. Because keep in mind, my Death Knight wasn't even there that whole fight. And now let's look at the difference. I am at 420, 565 wood, and 43 food. Comfortable, lots of income, or as much income as one needs from one base, on on a steady supply of stuff. Let's look at his base. He has no gold acolytes on his gold mine. 1 here, 2, 3 alive, but they're way out there. He's got no ghouls whatsoever. And he's at 40 wood, 240 gold. 4 acolytes here only. So this has probably paid itself off at this point. But look how far behind he is still. Despite getting that expo, by coming down around and flanking him, exploiting that weak point in his game, and hitting him where he was not prepared. If I had come here, he would have smashed me, but hitting him where he was not prepared, I've definitely managed to take a significant lead in this game. Even let's check out hero levels. He's level 1 and level 3. I'm sure that's level 4 and level 1 because he wasn't there. Another thing, he built a gargoyle. That wasn't in his game plan. He didn't want to buy a gargoyle, but now that's 185 gold that was dropped on a unit that he doesn't need. I am bad at the game and lost my Zeppelin there, but really the Zeppelin at this point had served its purpose. Fiends also do a very good job of completely taking them out of the game, right? But there was an extra bit of gold I gained because he bought a gargoyle. And now let's look at what's happening. We're 11 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. I'm regrouping to push his expansion. This, I think, is really interesting, though. Look what I have. I have 6 ghouls, 2 necromancers, and a meat wagon. There's another necromancer coming, and I've just finished exhumed corpses, I believe. Yeah. So this is it. I think necromancers have a really negative, or people have a negative perspective on necromancers in the community right now. I think they're kind of seen as a meme unit. I don't think they're taken seriously. And I think that might be a bit of a mistake because, you know, I'm not focusing on necromancers. I'm on 1 base. I haven't had to expand. I haven't had to tech. I haven't had to break 50 food. But I've got a pretty reasonable army here that's going to cause a lot of damage. 1 meat wagon is enough to... sorry, I saw just out of the corner of my eye that he was up here. So I came up here to creep. I slept... Actually, I'm going to keep talking about a couple things here. So along the lines of necromancers, I think being underutilized because even having 2 or 3 of them in your army throughout the course of the game can cause so much havoc and cause so much damage. And what are they going to do? Are they really going to hard counter you here? Mass destroyers, that's probably a solution. Mass fairy dragons. But for an opponent to invest in those kind of things, to counter necromancers, kind of means you've done your job anyway, because necromancers are relatively cheap, and the Temple of the Damned is not too expensive. Up here, I'm going to go back and talk about this, because I slept the Death Knight, and I feel like sleep is completely undervalued in the community right now. I definitely agree that at top level of play, people who have 350 APM, they have no problem waking up their sleeping hero regularly and continuing on with the fight. But at regular level play, with most of us normal people who struggle to keep doing everything in a fight, I think sleep can be very effective, right? It taxes your APM because I'm trying to, well, let's use him as an example. He's trying to kill my necromancers. He's trying to avoid my wall of ghouls. He's trying to keep his heroes alive. He's trying to micro. He's trying to repair his spirit towers, which are being hit by my meat wagon. And now he's also got to constantly wake up his hero. That's a lot of actions. That's going to put people behind. And I think it's really effective at lower levels and shouldn't be disregarded in the way it is. Anyway, so here I slept his hero knowing it had the town portal, and I wanted to deal some damage to the rest of his army. Unfortunately, he was able to buy the Zeppelin before I was and get out of there. But still, I feel like I'm doing well. I'm still sieging his base. My 1 meat wagon, which is benefiting from the same attack upgrade as ghouls, is doing a lot of damage. And I have my 3 necromancers stationed around it. I don't have Raise Dead on autocast. I use it manually and as sparingly as possible until I get into a big fight. But just enough to keep him back. See, watch what happens here. I'm not great at the game, and he don't notice that he's dropping right on my necromancers. I react pretty quickly, I think, and pull them away here. But my ghoul army gets in, blocks him off. I sleep the Death Knight so he can't charge through. And there's not a lot he can do here, right? I don't even think there's much to talk about. I just let my units do their thing, slowly overwhelm the opposition. My necromancers will raise the ghouls that die. So for every ghoul that falls, 2 bodies fill its place. And I'm overwhelming my opponent. His expansion is also down, and he's forced to run away. So this is an interesting point in the game, right? I am at 45 of 50 food, levels 4 and 2, so I'm not ridiculously strong or anything. I've successfully taken out his expansion, but I have not won the game. He can definitely still fall back on his one base and outplay me and take control. Necromancers are not enough to win the game completely on their own. This army is absolutely beatable by an undead. So I have a couple decisions to make here, right? I can expand and try and sit back and hold off his advancement and just choke him out, or I can try and maintain my advantage and lean on him, which is what I go for. And this I know is a questionable decision a lot of the time, because I've broken upkeep. Usually you don't break upkeep at 50 until you have enough gold to jump straight to 80. But for this game, in the context of this game, I think it makes sense, because I know I have the edge. I know it's possible for him to come back, and I want to use every little bit of gold I can to lean on him and keep him down. I'm not playing this game to expand. I know that if I try and expand it as Undead, there's going to be a lot of resources and time that go into it. And those resources and that time could be better spent pushing or keeping him pinned in his base. So I lost a Necromancer here. That's unacceptable. I wish you hadn't seen that. But it's going to happen. And I should have Fog of War on. Sorry. And he kind of shows his cards here. So we do a little bit of a dance, and I see... Where is he? He'll come back. There he is. And I see he's got Destroyers, which is obviously trouble for me, right? I have 3 Necromancers and a statue and a bunch of ghouls. Nothing in my army can attack air except for the skeletal mages that are resurrected by the Necromancers, which conveniently do piercing damage, which does bonus against Destroyers. So let's watch this. I've seen now that he's got the unit that hard counters my army, right? There is no unit in the game that is better against Necromancers than a Destroyer, I don't think. Maybe Priests. Let's not get into that or make that argument. Either way, I still feel pretty confident. So you can see, even though money's tight and I haven't hit 80 food, I sell a couple items because I want to buy a Scroll of Healing. Absolutely important in this matchup. If you're going ghouls and skeletons and any unit that has low amount of health, Scrolls of Healing are amazing because they basically will bring a ghoul to full health, right? 340 HP and we heal 150. Sorry, 50% health brought back immediately to every unit is massive. And now I'm deciding to make an attack. We'll talk about this in a second. But in my attack here, I'm not planning on winning the game. This is an attack to buy time. This is an attack to lean on him. If I can force my opponent just to teleport back to base and then I run away, I am happy. If I can kill a unit or a building or something like that, then I'm very happy. If I do anything more, then the game is over. But I'm not going in here to pick a fight. I don't want to engage his army head on. I am afraid of the Destroyers, and I need some time for my Fiends to come out. I think I have Web at this point, but I know I can't engage without Fiends. So here he had 2 run north. They fly away, and I decide, okay, I'm going to push. I now know that his army is north of me, right? I know that he's either going to have to teleport or run to get to his main. So I'll force a teleport, and if he teleports in, I'll get out. Otherwise, he's going to come down here, and I can probably take out his main. I station my Necromancers again as close as possible to the graveyard, and start sieging. His units catch up, and I see 5 Destroyers. That's trouble. If I had fought this army head-on, I would get wrecked. But instead, I decide I'm going to trade off both meat wagons. If I try and micro them, they'll survive another 2 seconds, won't get off another attack, and that would have slowed down my Black Citadel attack. Instead, I was able to sacrifice the 2 of them, but in doing so, deal enough damage to the Black Citadel to take it out. And I am able to use his base against him now. Because I have so many units that the Spirit Towers are kind of irrelevant, like it's attacking 1 skeleton, that doesn't matter, and I have enough Necromancers safely hidden back here, I can take this fight in the back of his base and wait it out. So this, I think, is a mistake. I went for his Boneyard because I didn't want to deal with frost worms at this point, and I'd taken out his Black Citadel. It took a lot of damage, probably unnecessary, but it was just not something I wanted to deal with. And here, I think I also make a mistake. I overstay my welcome. My thought process was, look, if I can get rid of these last 5 remaining acolytes, I win the game. I think he's got one over here. He's got another one, and there's another one. And there's another one. And you're going to see I'll focus them because I'm trying to take them down. But I'm losing a lot of units, right? Now I'm down to my 3 necromancers, a statue. I've got some ghouls around. He's still got all 5 destroyers. So really, his army has won this fight. But let's look at how far ahead I actually am at the time that we get out of here. So I'm going to teleport now, hoping that I've gotten every acolyte, but I don't think I did. No, there's one right there. And I put these 3 ghouls on wood, so they didn't teleport away, which is frustrating. But did allow me to see, bam, a necropolis. So I knew at this point that I hadn't gotten all of his acolytes, and the game wasn't completely over just yet. It does mean that I have an incredible amount of time, though. I can just sit back and wait, and as soon as I have a big enough army to beat these 5 destroyers, I'll win the game. If he can beat me with those 5 destroyers, then... Or if he can beat my army with those 5 destroyers, then he's back in the game and I'm in trouble. But if I can wait and just buy time till I can overpower those, then I'm in a great spot because he does not have the income right now to rebuild. He can't build any more destroyers. He can build fiends, but I'm not afraid of them. I just need to wait. And so you'll see that's what I'm doing. I'm letting him deal some damage to my slaughterhouse. I'm not engaging. I'm pulling back. I'm dancing around a little bit. I start upgrading 1 ziggurat to a spirit tower just in case I need to keep waiting. But I pull back, and I pull back some more, and he moves around a bit, and then he moves around. And here, he kind of overcommits, so I capitalize. I have my 1 fiend out only. I'm slowing it down a bit. And he's right on my necromancers. He manages to kill one right away, and then we engage the fight. And this looks like a fight that I should probably not win. I have the hero advantage, but a Lich with Frost Nova and Frost Armor is probably more effective than Death Coil right here. I have a lot of ground units, but he has 5 tier 3 expensive anti-magic casters. And I overwhelm him. Look, I get a second fiend out. And look at how easily I run over. He's been dispelling magic regularly with these destroyers, but they can't keep up with the cooldown of Raise Dead, even though there's only 3 necromancers. But I think that's something that, again, people don't consider. You don't have to get 8 necromancers for them to be effective. You don't need to have 60 food and two control groups of ghouls in order to survive. You just need to have a couple to supplement the rest of your army, and I think things can go pretty well. Again, I'm still on 1 base. I'm still on just 1 of each tech. I'm at 50 food again because I lost quite a bit in my push here. But let's see how he's doing. Right, he's down to 3 acolytes. He's building his 4th. He's getting 2 statues, and he's at 50 food as well. But look at how much... Like, he just looks so much weaker than we do, right? So at this point, I really feel confident that I'm going to win this game. I came here to just creep this so that I could secure my expo. Just in the event that something crazy happens, I'll have something in mind. But I don't expect to ever have to use it. I don't expect to actually mine anything from it. I'm just... This is insurance. In case some madness occurs, this is so I won't lose the game. I'm going to speed it up a little more, because the game is basically over at this point. There's one more engagement right here. And I don't even engage well. My hero's off to the side. I've got a couple ghouls doing whatever. But I move in, and I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here. I just run him over. Sleep the Death Knight so he can't heal. Can't run around. I'm going to sleep the Lich just to cause some more problems. He just used a Devour Magic somewhere. Didn't even hit anything. Right? The game's over. And there's... Well, let's look at it this way. So my gold mine is now depleted. I have used all of my gold. His gold mine is 2,600. And I did check earlier. He had around 3,000 gold at the time that mine broke. Which means that through my harassment, I was able to get 3,000 more gold than he was out of his main. Now let's look at these. He's got 9,740 compared to 12,500. That's a little less than 3,000. So even when we just look at gold mined as a concrete thing, we won't look at income or anything like that, or upkeep, sorry. I mined more gold than he did, despite his fast expo going up over the 21 minutes of this game. Furthermore, of the gold he mined from this, the gold mine, 3 ziggurats. 3 ziggurats is 153, 450 gold, plus 3 spirit towers. That's another 350 gold, 450 gold, plus that. So that's a lot of extra income that came my way over the course of the game, right? I think it's very important to take away that when someone expands, you don't necessarily have to push right away. You don't necessarily have to react in the way they expect you to. Just be calm, recognize what that indicates for the rest of the game, where they're going to be vulnerable, what they're sacrificing in order to get this up, and try and exploit that. So this was a fun game. It was another win. I don't plan on only posting my wins, but it would be nice if I can post mostly wins. So, no, thank you for taking the time to listen. Of course, any questions, comments, criticisms are welcome. I want to get better at this. I plan to get better at this. And again, thank you for taking the time. So have a good rest of your day.